Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Top 10 edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. And check out our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And check out our Altar Sleeves. Support the show by using the code MAGICMICS at checkout for 5% off anything in that store. I am Evan Irwin. We get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back to our Top 10.
Reuben Bressler.
How's it going? Well, you have your normal background, but we have different backgrounds this time around. So this is a special edition, a secret lair version, perhaps, of our top tens.
On the road, y'all are live on location.
Yeah,
and I'm here.
Bit of a throwback back when it was like, where's Reuben broadcasting from this week?
Yeah, which closet? I don't know.
Yeah.
Some closet. It was magical. We also begin with our choice of the top comment from last week in a segment we call Honorable Mention, where Reuben will tell us who was the most eloquent in letting us know what card we did not choose as one of our top 10 Double Masters 2022 cards. Reuben?
We had some fun entries, but one of them stood head and shoulders above the rest in terms of how passionate the commenter was. One tweet could not encompass Lime's Invest's opinion. And so we have quite the thread here, but it was a good comment and sort of had a little bit of a personal edge to it. So Lime's Invests, or Lime Blue, writes, while not every card in Double Masters can be a reprint of a card worth anywhere from $50 to $700, or downshifted to common to shake up Pauper, one card stands out as a Wizards didn't have to include it, but I'm glad they did. And that card is Sidisi Brood Tyrant, the only titular Khan of Tarkir to see any tournament play as a headline of Sidisi Whiff. Her ability to continuously fuel the graveyard while also providing value from it without exiling those cards makes her a compelling package. She also carved a new space for the oft-hated Hermit Druid deck in competitive Commander. Slimmed down to Sultai colors, the Hermit was no longer relegated to whatever irrelevant 5-color commander you wanted to put at the helm of this fearsome strategy. On a deeper note, Sidisi was a deck that I put many hours and love and devotion into when I was in a dark point of my life. So through a suicidal depression, it motivated me to stick around. If not for Sidisi Brood Tyrant, there is a very real chance I wouldn't be alive today.
Oh my goodness. Sidisi Brood Tyrant did show up in Khans of Tarkir as a blue, green, black, and a generic mana for a 3/3 rare legendary Naga Shaman. Whenever Sidisi Brood Tyrant enters the battlefield or attacks, you mill 3 cards, and whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. I recall sitting next to Brad Nelson and saying I didn't think this card was going to be very good, and he went, I think you're wrong. And I was like, what do you know, Mr. Pro Tour dude? Right. Player of the year guy. Yeah, what do you know? Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, turns out this is just half of a Grave Titan for half the cost. So that's good enough.
Plus, it's just like sort of a fan favorite type like theme in general. I think people just love to play with cards like these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's very affordable, luckily for you. So $3.50, you can get the foil etched version. Let's go. That said, we do appreciate Lime Blue for being a part of the show. Please contact us on Twitter DMs at MagicMicesCast for your prize. Thanks again to CoolStuffInc.com for sponsoring this giveaway, and stay tuned for our top 10 list this week, and maybe you can win next week's free gift certificate, because it's time to talk about secret layers. Now, from, it's crazy kind of going back and seeing sort of how they evolved. The secret layers did not start the way they are now. We're not sort of treated the way they are now, or had anything kind of laid out the way they are now, in terms of there's going to be some things that are for certain brands, but they're going to include them later as like real Magic cards, quote unquote. That was in the air for a very long time. But now we have so many of them that we can create a top 10 list that barely has almost any overlap. Reuben, you don't have any. I don't have any. Nerdgirl, I think you might have a little bit, but that's about the extent of it.
2 hires.
There you go. So with that said, Reuben, let's kick it off with our number 10 here. What you got?
Well, this card would go right into your Sidisi Brood Tyrant commander deck, and it's just a go-to ramp card that we didn't have a lot of copies of. And so it was a well-lauded and well-celebrated reprint. And then we talk about the art, the gorgeous art on Nature's Lore, illustrated by Jeff Soto as a part of the Psychedelic Show. I remember when this art came out and I saw it and I was like, I'm ready for a music festival looking at this art. I love it so much. Nature's Lore is a generic and a green mana, originally, I believe, from Portal Second Age. It's a ramp card. It's a sorcery that says search your library for a forest, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. This is Jeff Soto's only Magic card. He is a contemporary artist, does not tend to do this kind of stuff, and it's easy to see why, but I'm desperately and madly in love with this unseelie fey owl that looks like it has terrible secrets for me. I just love it so much.
It reminds me of something I would see, like if you guys have seen like Vikings or anything like that, where they tend to go to the like place where their shaman type people are, and they do all the like sacrifices and stuff. It reminds me of like, because you would see like a lot of like totems and things of animals or various things. It reminds me of that, and I love the background with like the blue color. It's really, really pretty.
Yeah, you're in the enchanted forest, except this owl knows the day you die, and that's important. So like this card is sweet. And this one was really, if I recall, this was sort of the first time where like they really went out there with putting like the mana costs like wherever, and the title of it kind of wherever they wanted to, and wherever the text of the card goes. And I thought it was brilliant. So it's great. All right. Nerd Girl, what's number 10?
So my number 10 is a card that I had to put on the list. It's one of my favorite secret layers, period. It's one of only 2 secret layers I've bought, but we're actually going to be showing not one, but 2 different arts, because in the box, this actually was printed 2 different ways. And we're going to talk about the Extra Life 2021 secret layer with Mole Drifter in it. This Mole Drifter, the first art we look at here, is got a adorable little kid's drawing, and then they took a professional artist and had them mock up whatever they could envision from the children's drawing, which was amazing. Mole Drifter is 4 colorless and a blue for an elemental creature, and a 2/2 flyer that says when it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards with evoke 2 colorless and a blue. This was amazing. I saw on social media that they actually made little plushies of the Mole Drifter or whatever the kid drew. They made a plushie of their drawing for them. And I think I would have given Wizards of the Coast like $100 for this plushie, like easy, which is an absurd amount of money for a plushie, but like I would have bought it. No doubt about it. And I was like, I couldn't find it afterwards. So I ended up asking Gavin like where it was so I could find it. He's like, yeah, we only made one for the kid. And I was like, so you mean I can't get it? And he's like, well, maybe you could like ask their mom. And I was like, no, just sell me
the
one.
child. They'll take it from the kid, man.
Yeah. I'm not trying to steal a stuffed animal from a kid.
Man, that got dark.
Like, yeah, and they took like the kids were actually part of like the Extra Life hospital network. Right. Like it was an amazing thing, but I do wish like could we like make a giant one for the kid and then like give the plebs a small one? Like I will give you money, oodles of it, please. It was so cute.
They would make money. Yeah.
I think it's not unreasonable to say that Mole Drifter might be the best common creature that's ever been printed. Like really, as its first printing, not downshifted. It demolished Pauper. It was a player in Standard forever, and it's like the only 3-for-1 I've ever seen on a common Magic card. The limited format for Lorwyn was incredible, and it's remained popular in Blink strategies, in those like weird blue-black makeshift mannequin kind of stick and move reanimator strategies. And sometimes you just need to draw 2 cards. Sometimes you just need to cast Divination.
I mean, every part of Mole Drifter feels good, right? Like it's good early, it's good late. You always love it in your opening hand. It's in like every cube that's ever existed that has at least common cards and up, because everything just kind of works with it and it does everything you want it to do, and it's just kind of sweet. And like it was pushed for its time. These days, I don't think it's quite as sort of pushed. I think if they put it back in Standard, it would definitely see some play, but it wouldn't be like, oh my God, like it was back in the day when it was this and Shriekmaw and like, what are they doing? These rates are so good. We've never had it so good. And lastly, you got to point out the fact that they put the age of the artist in the type line at the bottom is so good. Age 5.5, age 41. I absolutely
the concept for this secret lair of having a kid draw a picture and then having a real life artist interpret their drawing in a magic art style is brilliant and should just keep happening. Like, this is a replicatable process.
Yeah, let's go. All right. So for my number 10 here, this is a kind of a style of cards that they have at this point. These are very expensive, as it turns out. The card itself is very useful. It's been reprinted a whole bajillion times and doesn't matter because you can't get enough copies of the boots, but you can get a very cool and unique kind of 3D hand-drawn version of Swiftfoot boots that shows up in this like very cool, almost Da Vinci style looking layout. Swiftfoot boots here is 2 generic mana for, well, this is a rare quote unquote from the drop, but generally it's an uncommon artifact equipment. The equipped creature has hexproof and haste, and you equip it for 1 generic mana. It's good coming and going, and who doesn't love the Swiftfoot boots?
Yeah, especially but boots has been like a pretty hefty priced uncommon for like a good chunk of time too, right?
They just keep printing it though.
Well, it's a Commander All-Star. It's a card that's like Soul Ring. It goes in every Commander deck that cares about its commander. I do love this style. It reminds me of like the 2nd edition D&D art pages that we're getting. I had an altered Soul Ring that an altarist actually painted in this style.
Oh, nice.
15 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And I really love these arts.
Nice. Yeah, I think this card's really sweet. And there were a whole bunch of them. And I was like, like there's an Ornithopter that looked really cool. And so I just chose the one. Let's move on here to number 9. Nerd Girl, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is a bit of a personal favorite of mine, and I think this actually made my last list as well, for the Double Masters set. But I wanted to pick a couple from this, but I had to go ahead and just only pick one from the Secret Lair, even though there were 2 or 3 that I absolutely adore. And that is the Valentine's Day 2021 Monastery Swiftspear. 1 mana for a human monk with haste and prowess. It's a 1/2. But if you look at the entire thing, holy smokes, just like the Boros Charm, the Heliod, they're awesome. And I really loved the Valentine's Day theme. I actually bought the Boros Charm sleeve from one of those second market sites for like $12, and I like adore it.
That's awesome.
I love how simple the text box is and how empty they left it so that you can see the full art here. It's beautiful. I love this whole Secret Lair, and in particular, haste prowess, no flavor text. That's all we need.
Just gorgeous. This was actually one of my last sort of cuts as well. I thought it was great. And like the art style, the evocative kind of pose, like the fact that it's one of those just like amazingly perfect creatures. Like, it's beautiful. It's got the stats, it's got the 2 keywords, it doesn't need anything else, but it's very, very exciting. And I love it. All right, Reuben, what's number 9?
Well, I hope you like squirrels, because I do. And there was a while where Magic was like, we're not going to print squirrels.
I know, it was weird.
They're too silly. We don't want to be too silly. And I'm like, it's a children's card game. Richard Garfield invented cards that you shuffled into your opponent's deck and like made you put things on your head. Like, let's let loose a little bit. And finally, after like a very long time, originally this card was printed in Prophecy and they put it into the mystery booster before we finally got the Secret Lair drop version of Squirrel Wrangler with brand new art from Joy Ang. Once again, this is a children's book artist who this is their only card, and it's adorable. It's just a small child sitting on a fence with a bunch of squirrels that they've presumably wrangled. Squirrel Wrangler is a 2/2 for 4 mana human druid that has 2 activated abilities. Generic and a green, sacrifice a land, make 2 green squirrels, or squirrel creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. That is a lot. This thing can pump out a lot of bodies and make a lot of power very quickly.
One of the things I like about this art is that the kid doesn't look like he's a playful, cute kid playing with squirrels. He looks like he knows things and he's going to mess you up for them.
Yep. Very Lost Boy energy from this kid for sure.
Oh man, this is great. And the acorns again as the flavor taste is just so silly, and I love it. Yeah, let's be more silly, have some fun. For my number 9 here, this was a card that just leaps off, the art, it just leaps at you. It is one of the most colorful, eye-catching, bazinga crazy card. I'm like, when you look at it, like, what were having, like, they just put all the colors in. They just put all the colors in and they swirl it around a little bit, and you're like, damn, Glennalinda Archmage is just incredible. Like, it's just absolutely gorgeous, and it's fairies, and there's pinks and there's blues, and it's just fantastic the way it's all set up. Glennalinda Archmage is a blue and 3 generic mana for a 2/2 rare fairy wizard with flying. You can pay 1 blue, sack it to counter target non-creature spell, and has persist. So when it dies, if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, it comes back with 1. And yeah, this thing is just so dope. The little bee right there, I mean, it's so good. I love it.
All of the fairies are really, really pretty. I liked the art style that they did, and I don't see that they do this type of thing very often. I think it was very unique, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Once again, another artist who's only ever done one magic art, Ryan Gonzalez. We only hit dingers, though. We only hit home runs. We're not turning anything in that's less than a 15 out of 10, and this thing's spectacular.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job with it, let me tell you. All right, let's move here to number 8. Reuben, what's number 8?
So, in terms of concepts for Secret Lairs, I think that my favorite concept idea that they've ever had is the concept that they had for culture shocks, where they took the 10 shock lands and then put them in 10 planes where they've never been put before. I loved the concept. The lore and the story that they told in this way was spectacular. And the one I want to talk about here is the one that I was like, it's perfect. I have no notes on the watery grave that's taking place on Ixalan. Nice. Watery grave's a shock land. It's an island swamp that when it enters the battlefield, you can pay 2 life. And if you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. This version is of a ship graveyard with a dead body floating in the water, has flavor text from Captain Lannery's Storm, but we would never have had a watery grave taking place in the ocean, much less in a large body of water outside of Ravnica, and it fits here perfectly.
Oh yeah, like the stories told here. Funnily enough, this is the only card with the word watery in its title. But yeah, the idea always was that the Ravnica lands could go anywhere, right? Like, that's why they named them the way they did. But then they never put them anywhere else.
Sure. Except for here in Culture Shocks.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that there has been so many ships gone down, and a lot of them have been gone, like they've been sunk for a while. You can see like the hull is, rotting away and so on. And then now we have this fresh ship going down with all the bodies. It's very a lot more morbid than we tend to see, but like it leads me to think like, what is sinking these ships in this very specific place? Also, like, this is the only printing of Watery Grave that doesn't have the more specific instructions as to what it taps for, right? Because they wanted to make a lot more room for the text here.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It just says island swamp. It doesn't necessarily spell out exactly what that means.
And I think it normally does. It says, taps for either or, blah, 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 blah. This doesn't do that. It gives you comes into play tap, pay 2 life spiel, but then it uses the rest of it for this very dramatic flavor text. And it's from, Captain Lannery's Storm. Like, it gives it a lot more weight to go along with this very dramatic picture.
It appears that the Zendikar Expedition version didn't include that reminder tap thing.
And the specialty versions.
Right, and the upcoming Unfinity version seems to have the same thing. But again, those are special versions, so I'll take it. But yeah, this is fantastic. I love it. Nerd Girl, what's number 8?
All right, well, for my number 8, we're going to go to a slightly happier place. And by slightly, I mean very opposite of dead people drowning dead, and to the goodest boy who just wants belly rubs. We're going to take a look at the Secret Lair. Every dog has its day. And my personal favorite in there, and I think probably the most relevant for sideboard and just long-term play, is going to be Rest in Peace. 1 white and a colorless for an enchantment that says rest in peace enters the battlefield. Exile all cards from all graveyards. If a card or token would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. This is a wonderful staple in every sideboard for Eternal formats, and it's just got the goodest boy who's just so happy.
The flavor of calling a card rest in peace and not being morbid and dour about death and merely just being a dog having a nap. Brilliant.
Lucy had chased every ball, chewed every stick, and rolled in every puddle. She lay down in the sun, content at last.
Yeah, brilliant.
It don't have to be something about pretty much dying stuff. No, sometimes you just had a great day. That's what she had. Good old
It's not a feeling you get on a lot of Magic cards where you're just like, hey, we're good.
Well, for my number 8 here, I chose a different portion of the Valentine's Day Secret Lair. I thought all of them were great. I mean, the token was fantastic, and it was just like, what could I choose? Which one of these is really my favorite? And the one I thought just like is just the ooey gooey, just right there in the awe subreddit is Jocella, Blade of Gold Knight, with the cheeks. Look at them cheeks, man. You cannot love them cheeks. For 2 white, a red, and 4 generic mana, she is a legendary angel with flying and first strike. She's a 5/5. This is if a source would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage. And if a source would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, you prevent half of it, rounded up. And it's been BA ever since it showed up back in the Hell Vault, open the Avacyn Restored. And then,
I guess the Hell Vault was the first time it technically appeared.
Technically, yeah. But Avacyn Restored till today. Here we go.
So quick question. Am I the only one that finds these cherubs, not this particular cherub, but just cherubs in general, kind of freaking creepy?
Very disconcerting. Yeah.
Like, that was actually why I like Boros Charm more than I like Monastery Swift Spear, but I was just like, the cherubs kind of got me off of it. So I put the Swift Spear on my list. So yeah, I would like to know, chat, leave us a comment in the YouTube channel if you too find cherubs to be very disturbing.
Yeah.
Are they, do they keep that face while it slices you to death? You know what I mean? And the blood's flying all over its face. And just...
Well, I feel like that's what they all look like in every medieval representation.
Medieval depictions of cherubs. No one knew how to draw a baby in the 1400s, so they just sort of drew adults that were small, which is even more disconcerting. And I still can't get that uncanny valley distance out of my head.
Yeah. It's weird. You don't want to think about it too much. The flavor judges get involved.
Or you see like old furniture with like the cherubs carved in it. And I just feel like that is where people go to die.
Yeah. Once again, that owl has the owl from Nature's Lore has an old chair that has cherubs etched into it that turn to you when you walk in the room. Yeah, it's horrific. It's horrifically bad.
Horrific. Let's move on here to number 7. Reuben, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is a part of a secret lair where it was very difficult for me to pick which one I wanted to pick out of this one because I loved all of the Year of the Rat stuff, but I decided to go with Marrow Gnar. Marrow Gnar is a 3 generic black legendary creature rat rogue who's a 2/3 that says that all rats have fear and has an activated ability that says that tap, sacrifice a rat, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens, where X is the number of rats you control. This one is feasting, having a lovely sushi dinner with all of the Marrow Gnar's many rat friends.
Yeah, doesn't the effect of the card kind of denote that what they're eating is other rat friends? Am I wrong on that?
It's a little dark, I guess. Just don't think about it too much. Don't ask questions. Just be thankful that this is adorable.
Start the new year off on a good paw.
This one is adorable, and it actually makes me much happier that this version exists, because the original version, like, though it is not as creepy as the cherub, it is still very creepy. So like this little cutie with like his little friends and stuff, I'm kind of into it.
I think it's great. This is one of those secret lairs that just blew up in value. And I think because a lot of people just didn't think it was very interesting or worth it, or the cards weren't very expensive at the time or whatever it was. But man, it just like shot way up as soon as it came out.
Yeah, I think that Marrow Gnar was the only card in it that was like, we need a reprint of this. The rest of them were like Ink Eyes. We don't really need another Ink Eyes. I mean, the Rat Colony, I guess we'll use, but everything, picks up in value over time.
There you go. Nerd Girl, what's number 7?
My number 7 is my one of 2 hires.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Well, I'm sure it's wonderful. We move here to my number 7. Let me get it pulled up here. This is one of the cards that I talked about in the pre-show about there being multiple Secret Lair versions of. And, when I was making my list, I realized at one point, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I need to go and, actually mark which number these are and who the artist is so Rich can know exactly which one to talk about. But I thought this one was absolutely incredible. And, I love seeing sort of just culture, just good old fashioned culture, the zeitgeist, I'm all about the zeitgeist. And the raws are the culture, the feeling, the power, the presence of the Soul Ring done by Thomas Zentino. This was I think the Blackest Magic version. And it's just incredible. The glowing eyes and the ring around the neck. Absolutely so cool about it. I think it's great and very impressive and impactful. Soul Ring, of course, is 1 generic mana for a uncommon artifact originally from Alpha. And it has to add 2 wingdings to colorless mana.
The how ornate the ring around their neck is. And I think, in a lot of cultures that's, they add rings and stuff as they grow and they symbolize various things. I think it's spectacular. It's a totally different take on a ring, which I would have not expected to see, which really does encompass the culture change with the card. And I love that.
Yeah. It is both grounded in reality and has an ethereal, otherworldly nature, both at the same time. And it's a play on a soul ring that we haven't seen before. I think it's just perfectly executed.
Absolutely. Let's move here to number 6. Nerd Girl, what's number 6?
I do have a number 6. I was a little torn because it's one of my favorite cards, but not necessarily my favorite art. I'm not a huge fan of the style, but I'm very glad that they are experimenting with new styles of art and getting to see cards like this in the Secret Lairs makes me very happy. So let's talk about just some totally normal guys. And one of my favorite all-time cards is Vengevine.
Oh boy.
And he does look super cute in his little gotcha kind of pose there. So we've got a 2 colorless green elemental that with haste, and it says when you cast a spell, if it was your second creature spell, you cast this turn, you may return Vengevine from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a 4/3, and the flavor text just says yarg. I don't know exactly what.
I was going to ask you to read the flavor text if you were going to skip over that.
Argle.
Argle.
Yeah, I did okay.
Good.
So like I said, the general art, I do think the Vengevine is the best of the bunch. I'm more into the slightly more abstract stuff like the Vendilion clicks and things like that. But this guy is super cute, and I'm definitely glad to see him show up in a Secret Lair.
Yeah,
it almost looks like a chibi Stranger Things Demogorgon.
Yeah.
I really like this art style. Personally, I really like this art style. And this is the best of the bunch. Also, Vengevine is my go-to starting guess for Enchant Worldle. Because I feel like I want to start with a creature and it's right there in the middle of the years. It's right where I want to be.
Nice. There you go. I was concerned, that, and I was glad they actually went back to the original art because the World Magic Cup qualifier version of Vengevine, I think, is just not good and just doesn't look anywhere near as cool or interesting as the original version. So I will take the OG or the Secret Lair of Vengevine every time. All right. Reuben, what's number 6?
Number 6 is, so this year I was honored and pleased to be able to write a lot of things for Ultra Pro. And one of the things I'm happy to write for Ultra Pro is some of the blogs for some of the products that come out. And one of the blogs that I was tasked with writing was with the artist series Livia Prima art that just recently came out. And I stumbled upon a theme of the 4 characters that were featured in this Secret Lair, where I made myself sad writing about Magic characters. These 4 characters that she has and were illustrated, which are Olivia, Glissa. I'm trying to think of the other one that isn't the one that is on my list here. Olivia, Glissa, forgetting the
It'll come to you.
On my head. And then this one, which is Akroma, Angel of Wrath. Akroma, Angel of Wrath is 5 generic white for a 6/6 legendary creature angel. It has flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black and from red. One of the original like reanimator targets that people loved. It was in From the Vault 25 or From the Vault Angels or one of those. Just an absolutely iconic figure. And this is the first artistic depiction of Nevea, who was the inspiration behind the creation of Akroma. Ixidor's love perished, and in his grief, the reality sculptor created the platonic ideal of an angelic figure. So Akroma came from a place of sadness and wistfulness, but also of idealized platonic angelicness.
And this is a card that through the years used to be very expensive. This card used to be very, very expensive. And before it saw a bunch of reprintings, and, back in the day, there was sort of just the Legions version. And eventually we got the Masters 25 version and From the Vault Angels version. And honestly, some other very expensive angels came out that does even more powerful things than what Akroma Angel of Wrath did at the time. But it's incredibly important. It was great as a reanimator piece, and I'd certainly remember reanimated it many, many times in the cubes back in the day. Love me some Akroma.
I remember that Micaeus the Unhallowed is the 4th character in that Secret Lair.
The only thing I was going to add to that was just one of the important things to note is that angels is one of the most popular creature types in all of Magic. People are always going to have their angel decks, and they're going to always be on the front pages of binders from now until forever.
There you go. Right. Well, for my number 6 here, this has been a card that I thought it was a little silly, but looking back, I should have seen, and it was obviously going to be a Commander staple. It got up there in price. And I thought, if anything, the Jumpstart reprint made it a little bit more affordable, which was cool. But the aesthetic from this one, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this is from the same release that those Gravecrawlers are from, which is like the spooky movie poster thingy for Rise of the Dark Realms. Lock your doors, they're coming home. Woo! I love it. So Rise of the Dark Realms originally showed up in Magic 2014. It is a 2 black, 7 generic mana, a 9 mana sorcery, a mythic sorcery. So here we go. You put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Just get them all here.
The pulp novel versions of these Secret Lair drops, the thrilling tales of the undead Secret Lair,
there you go,
were absolutely spectacular. I thought these were inspired. The last one being Liliana Death's Majesty.
Yeah, this Secret Lair came out at the same time, or roughly the same time, as 2 others that all had this same sort of spooky vibe. Actually, if you include the lands, there was even more. This was slightly more understated, which I actually liked the art on these. Once we got into the next one, which was the movie, monster movie marathon, I actually started to think that those were too busy and that you couldn't really tell what the card was trying to do. They spent more time sort of structuring it like a poster than they did structuring it like a Magic card, and then I started to get a little disconnected. So I think this Secret Lair was actually by far my favorite of all of the spookies, because it incorporated all that sweet thing, the callbacks to all of the sweet flavor that we wanted, while still keeping the same structure and easy to read aspect of the card.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. The pulp novel, like you could 100% see this on a used book for 50 cents. Oh, yeah. And that's the vibe you're going for, and I love it.
Yeah, I think there's just something so cool and striking about that pose, the look over her shoulder. It's very Liliana. The attitude is terrific, along with the way it's working with the theme. I just thought it was brilliant. All right, let's move on here to number 5. Reuben, what you got?
My number 5 is a piece of art an artist that I believe is the most famous artist that has ever been put onto a Magic card. And it's because this is the Happy Little Gathering. And I've decided to focus on the evolving wilds from the Happy Little Gathering by famed PBS artist and show host, Mr. Bob Ross. Evolving Wilds is a common land that's been printed a bunch. Tap, sacrifice, evolving wild, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. We don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents is the flavor text on this Evolving Wilds.
As it should be. Like if any other flavor text, like if there was no flavor text, it would be a huge miss. And also it's such a wonderful thing to tell people, like, you know what I mean? Especially for artists, because we know that a lot of times, people who are trying to express themselves artistically can be very hard on themselves and not see the value, which I love.
Yeah, and the story of Bob Ross is just tragic, honestly. But I do love the fact that, ultimately, the business crap aside, what the man represented and how he came across in his art, and I believe how he helped a lot of people. Like there's a comfort watch in Bob Ross's shows that's so unique. You just feel good. You feel good watching it. You don't feel bad.
They still stream Bob Ross on Twitch every Sunday, I believe.
Yeah.
I think so.
And it's great. I mean, he had so much pain in his life. As oftentimes, listen, not every artist needs to have pain, but this one did. And you wouldn't necessarily identify it by looking at his art. And to come out on the other side of as much strife and sadness as he had in his life, with as much kindness and grace and patience and simplicity as he had. I mean, there's no secret as to why he's become this indelible pop culture figure. And the fact that Magic gets to have a small part of that in their history is a lovely tribute.
Like, you guys know your Bob Ross history way more than me, but I will say every Christmas I do Christmas gifts for my viewers, and I usually try to wrap up about 20-ish gifts, and then throughout the day, 10-hour stream, I'll give them away. You pick a number, each gift has a number on it, and then I open it up, show you what you opened under the Christmas tree, and send it to you. And so about 2 years ago, I gave away a Bob Ross chia pet where you put the chia seeds all over his hair, and it grew like a little afro. It was so cute.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, because children, I'm old. I'm an old man now. I can recall coming home from school and watching the Bob Ross show on PBS, and my mom loved it. My mom took the local Bob Ross paint school course that they did in a local art shop or whatever. And so I got lots of Bob Ross growing up, and I think I'm better for it. So yeah.
Man, did they have TVs back then?
Well, the dirt floor is a little rough, a lot of worms crawling around and stuff, but we made it work.
Watch Bob Ross on the radio.
Hear those breath strokes.
Yeah.
Nerd Girl, what's number 5?
My number 5 is a card you can't actually read, but I think it's super sweet anyway. So we're going to talk about the Elish Norn Grand Cinebite from the Phyrexian Praetor's Secret Lair. This is a 7-mana card, 5 colorless, white for a 4/7 with vigilance, and your stuff gets +2/+2, and their stuff gets -2/-2 or something like that.
Yep,
no,
you got it.
It's
correct.
Open. Yep.
Great. I don't really remember cards all that well, but the thing I like about this is, and I know a lot of collectors will actually dislike it for this reason, but this was a card I always really, really wanted because it was a Judge foil promo, and I thought it was just the coolest thing ever, but could never afford it. So it's cool that it's a little bit more accessible to people. I know collectors will feel another way, but another cool thing is that this might not have been your favorite Phyrexian Praetor. So now it is actually available in multiple Praetors, which I thought was really, really neat. So it's not just, Elish Norn getting all of the love, because I think this is one of the coolest alters that you could do to a card. The Phyrexian language is awesome.
100% agree. I think that the Phyrexians, I'm excited for some Phyrexian garbage to come down the pike. We've had some good Nicol Bolas energy recently. We've had some good Eldrazi energy recently, but it's time for the Phyrexians. We're going back to the Brothers War. We're going back to Dominaria. It's going to be Phyrexian time. And I'm 100% on board with getting Phyrexian language versions of Vorinclex and Urabrask and all the rest. And it's really cool stuff.
I mean, this was very controversial, for there was a judge version of this in 2014. So for 7 years, this was like a $500 to $600 promo. It's now like a $200-ish promo, which isn't, that's a lot of scratch, but like it ain't $600, which is a whole other tier up above. So when you knock out like $400 of value, judges weren't super happy about it. But at the same time, these are collectibles. Wizards never said they're on any reserved lists. They can print them however they want to print them, and Lord knows they did. This is also one of like the easiest secret lairs to ever buy ever. Like it was just like a slam dunk in value. You got all 5 of them. Like it was nuts. Yeah. So I can imagine they sold very well. For my number 5 here, this is a card I had to specify exactly which version, as there are multiple secret lairs of it. And honestly, it almost feels like there's going to be more secret lairs before it's over than them actually wanting to just reprint this, because it's got that stupid word that Wizards doesn't like to put on cards anymore. And I know it's dumb, but it's just like, one of the most iconic cards in all of Magic is Wrath of God. And I'm sorry it says regenerated on it, but it is what it is. And I want you to keep it groovy, because we're going to do the Jermaine Rogers super groovy 1960s psychedelic poster version of Wrath of God. It's number 185, it appears to be. Wrath of God, if you don't know, did show up in Alpha, 2 white, 2 generic mana for a sorcery that destroys all creatures. They can't be regenerated. It just literally helped define what white does, and I thought this was a super rad version of it.
Yeah. Very cool version. I'm a fan of all the attempts at movie posters or band posters or concert posters. Makes perfect sense for a secret lair, and this is another slam dunk.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that we saw this one as a reprinting, just because like Evan said, there does seem to be a little bit of like a stigma around this particular version of this ability. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely interesting to see a reprint. It's a card I grew up with, so I'm happy to see it again.
I mean, I get that they didn't want to put the word regenerated on it, and they tried to get around it with different versions. There's a million different versions now that do weird little things. But and I just love the fact that there's some universal things that kind of every Magic player does at one point or other, and I love that one of them is, why would I want to destroy all of my own creatures? Like, that's a question that you all, like, as a Magic player, at one point you're going to have it. Sometimes early, sometimes mid, when you've learned. But you go, why would I do that? And just to get that and be like, oh, I love that stuff. Those are awesome moments in Wrath of God that you do that stuff. Let's move on here to number 4. Reuben, what you got?
My number 4 is, I don't know much about the lore of the topic of this Street Fighter secret lair. I'm not a Street Fighter person. However, from what I understand, the way that they've translated the way the characters work in the game into Magic cards was absolutely perfect. Like, it was very clear to the people that do this that that the people that made the cards also played Street Fighter and knew what they were doing. And this one, I have a personal experience of getting my butt kicked by Joe from Tabletop Jocks at a Commander night. Has a Blanca Ferocious Friend, like auras based deck, and just killed everybody. Like, it was not remotely close. Blanca Ferocious Friend is a 5-mana 5/5 legendary creature, human beast warrior with haste. It has rolling attack, which says that it has trample as long as you've cast 3 or more spells this turn, and electric thunder, which means whenever Blanca becomes the target of a spell, he gets +2/+2 until the end of the turn and deals 2 damage to each opponent. So we made the mistake of letting Blanca survive, I guess, or no, I think it had hexproof for some reason. And then he untapped. He got to untap with it, and then was just like aura. Everybody take 8, and oh, by the way, I'm attacking someone for 30. And it's like, I guess we're dead. Like, there's no, and that's good, clean Magic. If I'm dying to an attack step, I'm okay with that.
Yep. Especially because a lot of the auras redraw themselves, and there's a lot of cool things that you can do with that. I think that this secret lair was pretty neat. This was number 4. Yeah, they another thing that you said is that it was clear that the people making these cards were fans of the Street Fighter, but I also know that the Street Fighter brand themselves had a lot of say in this. They helped commission the arts. They, promoted this within the Street Fighter content creator community as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if they, Wizards put one or two people into a room with one or two Street Fighter people and was like, make us a thing. And, both sides kind of talked about how to best translate this into a Magic card, and I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I mean, like Chun-Li with multi-kicker was like just a masterstroke. So multi-kicker for Chun-Li, Ryu having an untapped symbol, like there's a bunch of really cool little things you can do. What was it? E Hondas said that you could up to 100 target creatures get +0/+X. Like that's just sick. And
Can I go next?
You're absolutely going next. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Hadouken. From the same Street Fighter, the same Street Fighter Secret Lair. This was just a simple lightning bolt. Hadouken deals 3 damage to any target. They even changed the name of the card in the text. Usually, I do not like when they change the name of a card and put it in the small text, just because I think that makes it more difficult to read and understand. But in the context of the Secret Lair, it was a beautiful addition to the whole thing, and I definitely will be buying a playset of this when it comes out.
Nice. Yeah, I was hoping you guys are going to have some Street Fighter stuff on there, because I was like, well, I'm hoping it's going to be there, and you was.
I will say I was sad that there was no M. Bison as the unlockable character in the Street Fighter Secret Lair, and B, we do just have a card called Fireball that we could have had be Hadouken, but it doesn't see play.
It doesn't see play.
Being able to Hadouken in Modern is nice. Like, I like that a lot.
Yeah, 100%. This is going in my burn deck. I play 4 lightning bolts in any Eternal format. So
there you go. Perfect.
Very nice. So for my number 4, this is a card I've spoken about before. This is a Secret Lair I have right up there somewhere. It's amongst those. But this is a hell of a Secret Lair. I thought it was absolutely brilliant and gorgeous, and I love the aesthetic of sort of the classic tattoo. And the tattoo Secret Lair had within it one of the really cool looking moths that has like the skull on the back of it. I can't remember the type of moth it is, but these also have the skull and the Phyrexian symbols on the wings of Ink Moth Nexus. And I think it's beautiful and gorgeous and amazing, and I love it. And it is a rare land originally from Mirrored and Besieged. It taps to add a colorless mana, and for 1 generic mana, it becomes a 1/1 Blink Moth artifact creature with flying and infect until end of turn, and it's still a land.
Yep. This is the Death's Head Hawk Moth, is what you're thinking of.
Yeah. But this time it's got Phyrexian mana symbols on it.
Yeah, exactly. Incredibly inspired idea for a Secret Lair. Doing a tattoo Secret Lair makes all the sense in the world to have that art. I think it's great.
Fantastic.
This was my number 7. I was having a little bit of trouble deciding where to put it. Now, I do remember thinking of where to put it on my list, and I knew that Evan was very, very high on it. So I wanted Evan to be able to get the introduction. So I think I might have bumped it a little bit lower just to be safe. But yeah, I think that this is a wonderful piece of art, and they've since done some more types of things with this. Don't we see similar things like this in one of the alternate arts for the Double Masters with the same sort of butterfly? It was the new Pithing Needle. That's what it is.
Yes, the new Pithing Needle has this very cool aesthetic.
Yeah, I think that it's a wonderful thing that they have started to incorporate into this sort of spooky but very beautiful art.
So, Red Girl, we've lost your video. Is everything all right?
Oh, no, I did not know that. I'm so sorry.
Bam, she's back.
Is that better?
Yep,
better. Yep.
Reuben, you were saying?
So sorry.
It's all good.
And also that Pithing Needle specifically references this Ink Moth Nexus, right?
Oh, I did not know.
Because the needle is sticking this moth into a board. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
Because you can also name Ink Moth Nexus with Pithing Needle, so I think that's pretty good.
Nice. That's fantastic. So I love it. I think it's great. Let's move on here to number 3. Reuben, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is from the Secret Lair that I like the best. I think that this Secret Lair is if I were to ever buy a Secret Lair, this was the one where I was like, I'm very close to buying this secret lair. I didn't end up pulling the trigger, but it made me so happy to see ornithological studies because of the style of the art, the bird book, like the bird watching book art. Like you'd go to the used bookstore and get a 1960s, like here are the birds of southern Missouri or whatever. And you'd flip through that and you'd be like, oh, I recognize that. I recognize that. And the one that stuck out to me the most, and I decided to talk about here, is the gilded goose. It just is pastoral. It's calm. Again, I just love the play on magic cards that are like, you know what? Everybody just chill out. Gilded Goose is a green mana for an 0/2. This art is by Alan Douglas. This 0/2 has flying and enters the battlefield with a food token. It can do two things with that food token. One is make mana, and then it can also make more food tokens. So Alan Douglas did 3 of the arts in ornithological studies, also did Swan Song and Baleful Strix. And it just makes me feel happy. It makes me feel calm to look at this magic card.
I hate Gilded Goose.
Yeah.
I mean, it was they were putting the pedal down when it came to Throne of Eldraine, and they said, what if we just made all the stupid stuff and put it in one set? And they was like, all right. This art style reminds me of the fact that and this is real. At one point in time, the Britannica Encyclopedia Company would provide you with the first 3 volumes for free. They would just say, hey, you know what? You go ahead, you get started, right? You put this on your bookshelf. And then every time we went to the store, the grocery store, for the next, I don't know, like 15 or however many, volumes there were, my mom would pick up another, the next sort of book in the Encyclopedia Britannica until we had the whole damn thing when I was a kid. And that's where stuff like this came out of it. Thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So, amazing. Nerd Girl, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is my last of 2 hires.
Oh, okay then. Fair enough.
Nice. Cool.
All right. So for my number 3, this is a card that I wasn't planning on talking about this card. I really wasn't. This is a card that, I was basically, I was scrolling through all the artworks and making sure I sort of didn't miss anything, or if there was anything I wanted to, put out or think about specifically. And I was just like, all right, this is cool. And I was like, whoa, this is one of the coolest, most striking images on a magic card, and the card that it's on is so cool and popular. This has been printed a bajillion times, still worth $4 or $5. But have you checked out the Secret Lair version of Propaganda? It is a lot, and it is cool, and there are triangles and the circles and the eyeballs and the thing, and it's sweet, and it's like a weird prog rock cover, and I'm sure the shiny version is absolutely incredible, and the card's great. For a blue and 2 generic mana, it originally showed up in Tempest as an uncommon. It's an enchantment that says creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 generic mana for each creature they control that's attacking you.
Yeah. It actually has 2 arts. It's randomly got... It doesn't have a magic card back. It's...
Oh, because it's from that weird 100 secret, the commander deck or whatever?
Yeah, I think so. So you can choose which art you want to use.
Oh my goodness.
Of these 2 arts, both of which are by Scott Ballmer. Yeah. I mean, an iconic card, and the art is so trippy.
Yeah, the eyeballs are a bit much.
Yeah, this is a content warning if you have trypophobia,
right.
Which is the small holes fear. But if you play Magic and you've seen a Black Lotus, then that's going to trigger the same fear. So I like this one.
Yeah, the back is literally just a sweet bonus, and it's still awesome. So I'll take the front side or the back side. Let's move on here to number 2. Reuben, what you got?
I'm a sucker for history. I'm a sucker for things that have happened for a long time. And when Artist Series Mark Poole came out and we got a wasteland that had destroyed the Library of Alexandria, that's what I wanted. That's all I want in my life. Is
all you need.
Several 30-year-old references. Wasteland taps to add a colorless mana, and it says tap and sacrifice wasteland, destroy target non-basic land. The library's scrolls have long since crumbled into swirling desert sands. This is, of course, referencing not only the spell Wasteland, it's also referencing the Library of Alexandria.
definitely a good reference that, not very many people in the Magic community will like. I bet the ratio of Magic Mike's viewers is quite high, but in general, I'm thinking maybe not. But I think it was a wonderful little Easter egg, and that's what makes those sorts of references really good. Is that only some people get them, and I kind of like it.
I mean, the absolute filthy, ridiculous amount of value of Magic cards that have just like went through my fingers will know. And if they get that, if they're old enough to get like, oh yeah, I used to own a library. I don't anymore. Now it's worth $1 million. I used to own a bunch of wastelands. I don't. Now they're worth a bunch of money. Like the wasteland, the fact that it's drawn by Mark Poole and like all the little bits are there. And it's just, it's so good. And I'll take any nostalgia, man. Is good nostalgia.
I also used to own a library once upon a time. And, man,
it was worth about like $100 or something at the time, and I sold it for like 50, and I was like needed money or whatever.
I think I bought mine for 400 or traded for mine for 400 in value. But still, those were the days.
And just silly stuff like all the beta and alpha stuff that I just like. It was just in boxes. Like no one cared. Anyway, Nerd Girl, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is actually, I had a hard time picking one from the Secret Lair, but I knew I wanted to have one on my list. And I actually changed the card that I kind of picked at the last minute. But we're going to go ahead and jump into Pride Across the Multiverse. And the card that I chose from this is the Mana Confluence, which is just a land. It's tap, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color. It's got this sort of sweet, sort of like seance-y cult meeting looking thing going on, which is pretty cool. I like all the little colors that they all have, the different cloaks to represent the colors of the rainbow for the pride thing. But they're having some sort of like council meeting, and I want to know more about what's going on in this art. But the reason I switched it in last minute over the Soul Ring, which I think has also amazing art, was because I kind of ultimately decided Mana Confluence was the thing that needed to be reprinted the most, because I don't want to have to pay $1 bajillion. And this version of it is infinitely more beautiful. And I think the Soul Ring art didn't quite translate as well onto a card as it did from a playmat, because a lot of the pieces are kind of small.
Yeah, it's wild to me that they bring out this like City of Brass replacement in Journey into Nyx, and then just proceed to not print it for another 7 years or something silly. Like it was ridiculous. And even now, it was a Mythic in Commander Legends. Like that was also weird to bump it up into Mythic. And you're like, don't you want most of your dual land, pain land stuff to be rare, right? Like it's a little odd, but it's going to be.
This is the Penta land. It is the Rainbow Mafia land, and so this is art by Jabari Weathers. They them pronouns. Go and you can visit Goblin Princet. PRINCETE.com for more of their art. This is the only art piece that they've done for Magic so far.
Nice. Well, for my number 2 here, I definitely got a giant kick out of the Black is Magic Secret Lair. I thought it was brilliant. There's so many amazing pieces in there that we could choose, but the one that this is one of those cards that if someone doesn't know Magic, you can really sort of highlight how cool Magic is by showing them the Happy Family on Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. For blue, white, 3 generic mana, originally showed up as a Mythic in Dominaria. The set has 4 starting loyalty. For +1, you draw a card at the beginning of the next end step. You untap up to 2 lands. For -3, you put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, third from the top. And for -8, you get an emblem with, quote, whenever you draw a card, you exile target permanent and opponent controls. And this is just a hell of a Magic card that has been a hell of a Magic card ever since it showed up, and it's not gotten any worse ever since it's showed up.
I mean, it's gotten worse in that I hate it more and more every time I see it.
The hatred inside you grows, yes. And
that definitely changes. But I love this art in that the style and also the artists, the way the figures pop from the background, but yet the background is very bright and vibrant, but doesn't take away from the art itself. And you get to see, like you said, the Happy Family really in the forefront. The whole thing is beautiful. I love their clothes. I love everything about it. And this was the art of the year from Mikesys last year. So that says a lot.
There you go.
Absolutely. And Teferi Hero of Dominaria, even before the art by Kaneo from the Secret Lair, was a card of the year when it was in standard for Dominaria. So this was one where I was like, it's going to be on somebody's list. I don't need to put it on my list. Obviously, this is one of the top 10, but I'm glad it's on someone's list.
Yeah, it's amazing because what's great about Teferi is that it is right there on the verge of too good, but it's not. But it's right there. And because it's so close, that's what makes it exciting. So it's still exciting to play years later. It's still powerful and kind of feared. I don't want anybody to play it against me, but I sure as hell feel awesome when I play it. So let's go, and let's hope they can do it again for upcoming Planeswalkers. I thought they did a really good job with like the Wandering Emperor, for example. It's very similar. That's super powerful, but it's just right there. It's not bannable, but it's close. All right, let's move here to number 1. Reuben, what's number 1?
I felt like I probably should have put a Walking Dead card at number 1, but I couldn't really decide which Walking Dead card I liked the best. But there was a card from the Stranger Things Secret Lair where I was like, they did it. Like, we did it. We're perfect. Everything about it is perfect. And that card is Hawkins National Laboratory. Hawkins National Laboratory is a legendary land that taps for a colorless. You pay 4 generic and tap it to investigate, which means you make a clue token. And at the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice 3 or more clue tokens this turn, transform it. And I don't know if we can do this or show this on the show, but the UI interface on Scryfall allows you to transform it in the correct way because it's printed upside down on the other side for the Upside Down. The Upside Down is also a legendary land that says when this land transforms into the Upside Down, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When the creature put into the graveyard with the Upside Down leaves the battlefield, transform the Upside Down back into Hawkins National Lab. And oh, by the way, tap and pay 1 life to add a black to your mana pool.
Whew, that's a lot. These days, this is the Haven Ghoul Laboratory and Haven Ghoul Mystery. But yeah, the idea that you can show the fact on Scryfall, and not only is it the other side of the card, but it's also upside down on the other side of the card, is so flavorful. It is ridiculous. And taken from someone who has been watching, season 4 of Stranger Things, about to watch the last episode of the season, super duper pumped for that. I think this is brilliant and I love it.
I'm not sure why, but even if I'm not into it, I have enjoyed all of the animated series Secret Lair crossovers, but I'm not a huge fan of the Stranger Things or the Walking Dead, and I'm not sure why. Now, I was thinking that maybe it's just because I'm not really into either of those shows, but I also don't like Fortnite at all, but I love the art and the incorporation of those cards. So I'm not sure what it is about these that doesn't do it for me, but I hope I get to figure that out soon.
Yeah. I would say the same thing. For what it's worth, I wasn't necessarily really into The Walking Dead, but I love Stranger Things. But what I would say about The Walking Dead is that the first season is just brilliant. Those 8 episodes are just unbelievably sweet and tight and pressure, and they're exciting and thrilling, and it's Frank Darabont, and really what he wanted to do with that show was just brilliant. It's very similar to the first season of True Blood, which is absolutely brilliant, but do not watch anything after that. Just stop right there, imagine an ending, and just you'll never, you won't be sad about it. It's like Game of Thrones. But either way, it's fun stuff. Nerd Girl, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is a card that we talked about a little bit in the pre-show. This card has been living in my brain since I saw it spoiled. And, I was like, oh, the Secret Lair, 3 cards, don't really want to buy it. Only want this card, don't want the other cards. And I've just been kind of sad. It's occupied a space in my brain for a while now. And so, I just decided to look up the price randomly while making this top 10 list. And I found out it's only $13 and I got super excited and bought a playset. So we're going to talk about Gravecrawler from the thrilling tales of the undead secret lair. We talked about this a little bit earlier with Evans. This is like the spooky one, but still looks like a magic card, so you can still read it and understand everything very well. But this like Marilyn Monroe-esque nighty on this vampire, or this not vampire, this zombie just makes me so happy. She's even got like the stiletto heels, the whole thing, the boa thing around her arm there. Yeah. I love everything about this art. And yeah, I actually just bought myself a playset to start recreating my Gravecrawler Vengine deck. So I'm super excited.
Nice.
Yeah. This is why the movie Pulp Fiction is called Pulp Fiction. This is a pulp fiction novel. The pulp novels are called so because they printed so many on such bad quality that they needed to print them on bad quality paper. And so the paper has that grainy quality. I think you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like old used books that the paper's not very good. That's pulp paper. And so they were called pulp fiction novels. This is harkening back to an era of literature where it didn't really matter. Didn't really matter what the book was about. You would read the book because we didn't have TV. We didn't really have radio. This is how you got your jollies when it came to fiction. And it's great. And I love harkening back to this classic style.
Yeah, they back in the day, they would pay writers by the word. So if you wrote more and you filled more of those pulpy, pages with your words, you'd get more half cents per word and so on and so forth. Yeah. But yeah, this version is fantastic. She will die. She will get revenge or die trying.
And honestly, pulp novel artists were the magic artists of their day, right? They were the people who were hired to bring these things to life that they would print multiple copies of, but that you'd only get to see them in little frames. And so there's a big hearkening back to the style of what kind of these artists were.
All right. So by process of elimination, unless you've told me otherwise, Nerd Girl, your number 3 must be my number 1. Which, no, you already.
My number 3, I mentioned it like I was doing the hand signal. I thought you saw. My number 3 was the Hero of Dominaria.
Oh, nice. Cool. There you go. I missed that one. So that's cool. No, it's fine because my number 1, I was like, holy cow, is your number 1 my number 1? Or your number 3? Absolutely ridiculous because this to me is like, this is nostalgia. This thing, I bought this Secret Lair so fast because it was like, hey, you remember being a kid? And I'm like, I remember being a kid. It's like, look at your childhood. And you're like, oh my God, I love it. Oh, it looks just like the cartoon. And the cell shading is brilliant. And I picked Commander Sphere from the D&D.
Oh, I'm so glad.
The D&D animated
this was
set.
So close to making my list.
Oh my God, it's so good. I was just like, I can't. It just reached out to me every single bit. Like, this is some of Tyler Walpole's first work for Magic, which I think is brilliant. Again, Commander Sphere was the one I chose that has the Dungeon Master on it. The fate of one is shared by all and all that other stuff. And there was a giant, bringing back of the D&D cartoon last year with the launch of the set and so on. For 3 generic mana, it is a common artifact that taps to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and you can sacrifice it to draw a card, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here for the D&D animated 1980s vibes, just right in the veins. Just go get me.
I had the Hero's Downfall that had Wenger on it.
Oh, yeah.
On my list for most of the life cycle of my list, but I was like, I have to cut something. I guess I'm cutting this. I'm so glad this is your number 1.
I loved the art style of the D&D Secret Lair, but I couldn't really pick a card, and that's why I didn't make my list. But I do think that it was a wonderful addition. I hope they do more stuff like that because I like a lot of the old Sunday morning cartoons.
Yes, please give me my childhood back to me more and more. Yes, I would like that.
You know what I would love? We're getting Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, the live action blockbuster in the next year or so. What I would like is for a Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves Secret Lair with the art in this style. Ooh. I would like to take whatever characters are in that movie, whatever is going on, and turn it into this sort of like cell shaded 1970s hearkening like almost Brave Little Toaster looking animation on my Magic cards.
Like, if you really want to go all the way, if you want to go all the way and to the depths of the nostalgia mines, and where I would just buy all the copies of everything, would be Wizards and Nintendo would get together to make a Captain N, the Game Master secret lair with the Mother Brain and the silly Mega Man, and it like, excuse me, princess.
So stupid.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that said, that is our top 10 secret lair cards. You'll see them on screen right now for your review. Take a look at my list, Nerd Girl's list, Reuben's top 10, and we want to hear from you about what card we did not talk about, and we'll select our favorite to win $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com. But before we go, I want to thank my co-host. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys. See you next time.
Thank you, Reuben.
Hey, it's no secret that I love you guys.
Oh, you've been holding that one for a while.
I have.
It's been waiting.
Well, I actually haven't. I just came up with it.
It's because he's
impressed.
quick.
Because I'm very. I have like 3 things I'm good at, and one of them is being funny.
The quips. Ladies and gentlemen, the quips. Move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com and AlterSleeves.com, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl and Reuben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Follow, like, tweet, favor, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at Twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.